Kenya is at a crossroad, once again in our history. We are witnessing something that we have witnessed before. This was the time when black colonialism replaced white colonialism. And this climaxed at the period of the multi-party struggle in this country. We saw during that period where we had a foundation of a very good constitution. Laws were brought in that continually usurped the democratic nature and the inalienable rights of every Kenyan thereafter. In fact, during the Moi period, I believe there were 141 new laws that were brought to subject the people of this country to a dictatorship untold. In 2010, we passed a new constitution, believing that we have got new rights embedded that people have fought for, believing people had died for. And we were very proud of that new constitution. And our prayer, come the 2013 election, was that there would be an ushering in of a new government that would ensure that the inalienable rights of that new constitution were going to be adhered to. And that the government that was coming into place in 2013 was going to be a government that was pro-reform to that constitution. It is evident to all of us today that this is a government that decided at the beginning it is going to claw back what we envisaged as the gains of the 2010 constitution. We saw an attempt by this government to regularize and manage NGOs under a new PBO Act. That fight climaxed in 2017 when we saw, after the general election and the debacle of that general election, certain NGOs and their offices being vandalized by KRA and the police. Oppression of the alternate voice. We saw, as an excuse for terrorism, that the government had failed to manage. Draconian laws brought to a parliament to subject us to the previous Public Order Act that was very vicious in nature on our human rights. And that caused a lot of fights. Some of those laws were implemented, clawing back the reforms and the reform nature of the 2010 Constitution. They didn't stop there. They didn't stop there. They went on. Not only did the Supreme Court announce them as having participated in illegalities and irregularities, they literally pronounced the regime as having done a coup on the people of Kenya in 2017. They didn't stop there. They decided now the next target is the opposition. So my previous party leader, who was then viewed as the opposition leader, was swallowed in by the same people. And the voice of the opposition, as we knew it in parliament and we knew it institutionally, was removed. We have seen it further in the media, where ownership has been intimidated, where advertising of government revenue was taken through an agency so that it is apportioned according to whether you are articulating the government or you are anti-government, muffling the voice of the media. They then come back and they decide they are going to further reform political parties. And they hurriedly pass through acts in parliament. You have seen other special purpose vehicles, KRA, DCI, that were used even in the colonial period of Moi, start to be activated for the same purpose: muffle the voice of the people. And to climax it all, they put a cap on the registration of churches, so that now even churches can no longer speak. Churches are put in a corner. If you joke, we will deregister you. Now, we've seen this template before. And it is the template of dictatorship. It is the template, I want to assure Kenyans, that it was defeated before, we shall defeat again now.
Oh, yes.
Not tomorrow, now. The current head of state, who is supposed to be exiting, has decided he wants to extend his rule kinyume cha sheria ya Kenya, kinyume cha katiba ya Kenya. And all we are getting here is nothing else but a very vicious attempt to stifle any voice that is going to stop the path of trying to illegally remain in power, contrary to the constitution of this country. And we want to tell the current head of state, you shall not succeed. You shall not succeed in muffling the voice of the people and giving the people the voice that they want to speak for them on the ballot. You will not succeed. You will not succeed. These are lame attempts. And some of us here were ready for you. We were ready. We knew these things were going to come. So we are ready for you. Na muna bahati mbaya, kwa sababu tunajua sheria ya Kenya, and we were ready for you. You can throw what you want, but we are ready for you. And you shall be defeated even here. Hakuna mahali ambao umeshinda sisi. You have been at it for the longest period, na umeshindwa, na hata hapa utashindwa. Utashindwa. The voice of the people is now beginning to be heard in large numbers. The people you are seeing standing with me here began individual contests and individual conquests. And over time, they have managed to gather more and more support. We are now speaking as more and more people. We know that we are speaking to the 48% that is undecided in this nation about what is being presented. And we want to assure those Kenyans and many others, we believe we are the majority, that your voices are going to be heard.
Mheshimiwa Deputy Rais, nikienda kumalizia. We have been treated in this country for the last 1 month to unprecedented theatrics. Theatrics meted on you by some of the machineries, by some of the surrogates, by some of the officers of this government that you helped to form. We have seen CSs blatantly coming on TVs wakikuja kutukana wewe kama Deputy Rais. We have also seen total abuse. Wao wanakuja hawaheshimu kiti yako ya kiti ya Deputy President. I want to ask all the mandarins on all the officers of this government, tafadhali, hata kama hamuheshimu Deputy President, hata kama munaona ni mweusi sana, he is not worthy of your respect. Please respect the office of the Deputy President. we are going to have another deputy president in the Republic of Kenya. Na pengine kwa sababu ya Mungu hawajulikani, pengine ni nyinyi tu munatesa mwenye yako katika hiyo ofisi. Tafadhali kueni na heshima kidogo kwa ofisi ya deputy president. Do not destroy this office the same way you have destroyed other offices and other independent institutions in the Republic of Kenya. Na ya mwisho kabisa, Mheshimiwa Deputy Rais, I want to tell you some few words. Suffering breeds character, and character breeds faith, and faith never disappoints us. Umeteswa, Wakenya wote wameona. Mimi ningekuomba vile tu umeobwa na viongozi wengine, wewe utulie tu, the same grace that you have been given ukae nayo. Mwenye kulinda binadamu ni Mwenyezi Mungu. And Kenyans tuko na wewe, usitishwe na mtu, lakini wewe tulia, usitiulizie, ukalie kiti. And I know because you are not vindictive, we are not going to punish anyone. So even those people ambao wanatesa Deputy Rais, mtakuwa wa Kenya na yeye atawaheshimu because he has a bigger heart.
I begin by saying this, right from Chinua Achebe, who was quoted here by Joshua Igara, to J.C. Maxwell, to as many authors as you like to bring in. The fact of life is this: human society, in whatever organization, whether it's in small groups, as families, or as society, or as a country, or as a region, we rise and fall depending on the kind of leadership we have. And therefore, for us, not just as Kenyans, but as Africans, this is a good time to talk about leadership. At the beginning of this decade, when in my previous life in the academy, we used to debate a lot, President Thabo Mbeki of South Africa came up with the African Renaissance and said, Africa is now being reborn, and Africa is facing new challenges and going to break new grounds. And everywhere, even international media began to scream that this is Africa's decade. And it was Africa's decade because we have probably the largest conglomeration of talent in the numbers of our young people, huge deposits of resources, and we are endowed in more ways than one and have the capacity to succeed. But unfortunately, I think, and I asked Joshua whether I could speak candidly. He said, yes, I can. Unfortunately, I think we have not effectively addressed the challenges of leadership we face in our continent, in our countries, and in our communities. And if there's anything I've learned the last 7 years I've been in government, is that we could do a lot more than we are doing if we actually addressed some of the challenges we have in leadership. We have very serious weaknesses in our leadership. Sometimes in our environment or even in our countries, I honestly think we spend too much time on politics, more time than we should. And this hurts the potential that we have to do great things. I do not know who cast us, but I don't know why we sleep and wake up thinking about things that could not move us to the next level, like belongings, where we come from, who we are. And half the time we are lost in debates on pettiness, and we lose sight of the big things that we need to do that could unlock our potential and cause us to succeed. So I will share just about 5 lessons I've learned in the last 7 years as a minister. One, to succeed as leaders, we need to master enough courage. One of my favorite books in scripture is the book of Joshua. And 11 times or more, because that's from the version of the Bible that I read, the Lord kept telling Joshua Be courageous. Do not be afraid. Surely, God himself would not tell a human being not to be afraid if he didn't think you can actually be afraid. Because you can be afraid. 2 weeks ago, and I'm going to share with you practical real experiences. About 2 weeks ago, for the Kenyans in the room, I went to Mombasa. I decided on that Sunday morning with my team in the security sector to spend time to walk through Kisauni, from end to end of Kisauni. I met huge numbers of young Kenyans. 9 out of 10 people I met that morning, I swear, are below the age of 30. And about 6 out of those 10 people could not account for themselves because they are totally dazed, affected by the amount of drugs they have consumed. And as we tried to even have conversations, it was impossible to have a conversation with them. In fact, you have to stand very carefully or else they can even fall on you. And you can see in the lives of those people the effect of the weaknesses we've had in managing ourselves and how, because of our craze and worship for money, we have betrayed our own people in terms of protecting them against drug traffickers and drug dealers. And we actually stare at the reality of losing almost a generation in that part of the country. And that is because of leadership. To confront challenges like those, you need courage, the conviction to contest convention. When I came into government, the most common thing you hear in government is when you ask people, why can't we do this? The most common answer is, that is how we have always done it. We don't want to do it differently because this is the way we have always done it. And yet, that way we have always done it has not worked for us. Whether it is setting exams and selling them and rigging them and cooking up grades that do not exist, people tell you that's how we have always done it. Even when you ask a very simple question, why do we mark exams and complete the marking by December, and then wait to release the results in March? They tell you that's how we have always done it. Because in between here we have 3 months to cook results, to interfere with the results and do what needs to be done. We need courage. My brothers and sisters, there is no day like another in leadership. Every day is new, and every challenge is new. In most cases, the challenges we face are daunting, whether you're talking about leading your own family or leading your organization. You must start with the conviction to challenge convention. That I am going to ask the question, why can't we do it differently? When I was in the youth group in church, we used to sing a chorus that time, which ended like, dare to be a Daniel, and dare to stand alone, and dare to have a purpose, and live by it. So secondly, to succeed as leaders, really must have a purpose beyond self. We will not achieve anything as families, as communities, as a country, if we do not have in leadership the commitment to look beyond self. And again, let me tell you very sincerely, it's okay, it's fine and dandy actually to be a minister. I mean, you are paid well, you are driven around, you're even given bodyguards, you can drive for 7 days without going to the petrol station to fuel your car. But you know, you can also be lost in that sort of opulence and you do nothing for the people who in the first place are the reasons why you hold the position. And for me, I want to be honest with you. Every day I wake up, I ask myself the question, what are the pains that those people out there expects us to resolve. So that, because once you ask that question, you will not see a limit to the extent you need to apply yourself. I have never seen a limit to the extent I would like to apply myself if I am going to solve a problem, because you think about the problems of those people. I used to meet people when I was Minister for Education who were very surprised that I would wake up at 3 a.m. in the morning to go to the containers. And I told them, I have no problem staying awake all night if that means that those children get genuine grades and they move forward in a genuine manner. My comfort means nothing. I could stay in my house, wake up in the morning, chances are that by the time I get to the door, there will be someone salute me, even if I've done nothing. Then be driven back left, enjoy the comfort of this life. But that hasn't changed the lives of the people for whom we actually, in the first place, are employed. So our lives really must have a purpose. There must be something you live for. And that something cannot be the comfort of your office. And for us to make the change that we need to make, we must always ask ourselves that question. What do we live for? What is the purpose of what we are doing? One of my former bosses told me that if you leave an organization and people do not miss you, or no one misses anything you are doing, it means you ought not to have been there in the first place anyway, because you never made an impact. So I go around telling public servants, okay, if you can do nothing, at least plant even trees so that when you are gone, someone might say, these trees were planted here when so-and-so was the minister. At least do something, as it were. At least do something. Move to the next level. Thirdly, there is no way we can achieve anything without sacrifice. Frankly speaking, leadership and sacrifice are two sides of one coin. We have to make sacrifices. Sacrificing comfort is one thing. Most importantly, sacrificing the petty small things.
Asante sana kwa kutazama Wasource TV, na kuomba kama uja subscribe na kuomba uweze kusubscribe, finya notification bell ndio wakati wote tunapata habari kama hizi unakuwa wa kwanza kuipata. Huyo amekuwa ni Wanjigi, Ndindi, Nyoro pamoja na Fred Matiangi. Tukijaribu tu compare speeches zao, ni nani unaona anaweza kuwa rais, yani kulingana na speech zao nani anaweza kuwa bora katika kiti cha urais. Kama uko na maoni niachie hapo kwenye comment section, niachie maoni yako, finya notification bell mtu wangu, yani ili wakati wote tunapata habari kama hii unakuwa mtu wa kwanza kuipata. Hadi wakati mwingine, na kutakia mchana mwema. Asante sana.